Hello and welcome to the 12 Months to Marathon podcast with me, John Hill, the running podcast for the over 35s with Marathon Dreams. Episode 30. Here we go. Introduction to strength training. What's going on with me at the moment? Right, so I am currently in week 10 of marathon training, which is a little bit of a deload week for me, which is good because I've been tired and it's starting to add up in a good way because that's what it should do. But I'm starting to feel tired now, which is a positive, which means I'm doing the work. So there's been some really quite hard training sessions in this. And just on a quick tangent, I've had a lot of people message me and comment and say things like, oh, I don't do as many miles as you and I don't run as fast as you and all this. All I'm doing is following my marathon plan. That's all I'm doing. And if a run is on my plan, I do it to the best of my ability. Now, I am very big on potential, and I think that we should fulfill our potential. So if I think I can perform at a certain level, I try and perform at that level at my best, if that makes sense. And I'm not neurotic like that. I'm like any human. I've got sort of natural competitive tendencies, and I do care what people think. I think you've always got to be a little bit careful of everyone who walks around saying they don't, because it's quite natural for us to care what people think. But it's what we do with that information that's the most important thing, and what we do with those feelings. So it's a normal reaction to care what people think. It's what you do with it that matters, which is a quick tangent. So yeah, I like to fulfill my potential. So if you're one of those people that looks at a certain person, maybe feels inferior for whatever reason, and they're not deliberately trying to make you feel inferior, which says a lot about them and not very much about you. Just remember, in some cases, they're just doing what they feel is right. And in my case, that's all I'm doing. I'm just following my plan, which works for me and is suited for me and is going to hopefully get me to where I need to get. So yeah, week 10 deload. Happy about that because I've got a bit of rest and recovery. And then the next 4 weeks particularly are quite tasty. That's when it gets business end before you taper, really, and you make it count. So I think I've got two more 20 milers and one more 22 miler in that. So yeah, it's fun and games, which is marathon training, and that's the game we play. So I did introduction to nutrition, and I'm now going to do introduction to strength training. Okay, so bit of background as always on this. Now, as you know, I've talked about it before, but let's just recap for those who perhaps new. I've been in the fitness industry since 2009. Okay, now, when I first got into training, it was off the back of me losing quite a bit of weight. Now, when I started off losing weight back in 2005, I just did what I thought you had to do to lose weight. I wasn't particularly bothered about the most effective training mode. It was just, let's just lose some weight. So that would typically be a cardio thing in the gym, stationary bike, treadmill, that kind of thing. And then I started to incorporate some weights when I started to read about how different things worked. And obviously, like most people, I'd had a gym induction once and was shown how to use the certain machines. So I started using the machines, the chest, the usual stuff, the chest press and all that, just doing something and trying to improve my mirror muscles, as they're called in the industry. Now, when I started to learn about the fitness game in a bit more depth at the start of 2006, which was kind of around the time when I decided that I wanted to perhaps pursue a career in it, and here we are, which was insane if you think about the state of me when I was 28. But anyway, I started to get really into it, and I started to get really into the weightlifting side. Not at any sort of level competitive or any of that business, or bodybuilding or anything like that. I've never really had that level of discipline. That's different level to get sort of absolutely shredded. But I got quite into my strength training, and I did that prior to me getting into running. I used to lift weights quite a bit before I got into running, and I didn't do a lot of cardio, to be honest. I sort of moved away from the cardio a little bit and focused more on weights and also diet. And that led me to get in quite good shape, actually. I was in relatively good shape back in 2009, 2010. And that was just before I started my running journey properly, which was 2011, which is when, as you know, I've told the story before, a personal training client of mine at the time was doing the half marathon closest to me in Birmingham. And I said, I'll do it with you. The rest is history. So I've always strength trained. So my flirtation with running and a mix of strength training has always gone like this. I've always either gone more into one than the other, and then now I've got quite a good mix. So back in 2013, 2014, particularly 2012, 2013, I got quite into the weights again. Yeah, before I started the marathon journeys, which started in late 2013, early 2014, when I did my first marathon in 2014. Now, what I discovered was that I had a DNA test done about 12 years ago. And it showed, it was quite an expensive one, it was a decent one, and it showed me that for me to maintain a healthy-ish body weight, I needed a solid mix of weights and cardio, and I thought that was quite interesting. So what I did at that point was I realised, as that journey went on, that if I didn't maintain a level of, let's call it cardio for this, running, I would gain weight. So when I did my marathons in 2014, 2015, so I did one in 2014, 5 in 2015, because it sounded good, 5 and 15. And then I didn't do one in 2016. And I found myself, I gained quite a bit of weight because I was training a lot with weights. I was still doing my fitnessy stuff. I wasn't eating unhealthily, but I was eating a lot of food that had a lot of calories, but on the face of it, you would think was healthy, right? So I was doing a lot of weights, wasn't doing that much running, and then back in 2017 was when I started back on the marathon train, when I went up to Manchester and did my first sort of Manchester marathon for the first time in 2017 was when I first did my Manchester marathon, the first time I did Manchester. I did 2 in 2017, there was one in Birmingham and then one in Manchester. So that was the story of how it all linked together for me. And what I realised when I started to get faster, I realised that actually, because I'm not at a weight that I should be running at to maintain my paces. So there's this thing online, and I can't remember the name of it, as you lot know by now. I'm not that technical. I don't like to read. I like to run. So there's this chart which told me that to run a sub 3 marathon, which I've done once and close on 3 other occasions, I should be about 2 stone in UK money, 28 pounds or 13 kilos lighter than I am now, yeah, to be able to do that. And I think one of the reasons why I've been able to maintain my pace is because I'm strong. I've always trained legs. Always. So if you're into your fitness and you know the jokes about skipping leg day, I have never skipped a leg day. I've always trained with legs. And the reason why is because back in 2005, 2006, when I started reading up about things, when I was researching fitness, when I was getting into the game, it was like, you must do legs, you must do legs. And it was one of these things where it was like interesting. It said, well, you should do squats because it works a lot of muscles. And the more muscles you've got, the more likely you are to burn calories. And my initial goal was obviously to lose weight. So I've always trained, and I've always trained legs. And I think because I've always trained legs, and this has been over the years relatively quite heavy as well in certain parts of my life, that's really helped me as a runner. And what I see with a lot of runners is, and I've had this conversation with people before, is they get a lot of injuries, not because there's these myths about runner's knee and all these magical injuries that you're apparently you're gonna get definitely if you're a runner. And I've had people arguing with me on Instagram going, you will definitely get runner's knee. It's like, well, no, not everybody's going to get runner's knee. That's just a sweeping generalization. So I think if you look after yourself from an inflammatory point of view and a diet point of view, number one, but number two, you do need to strength train. And for me, you'll hear me use this expression, which is degrees of separation, right? Which means that you don't have to have gym membership, squats, blah, blah. As long as you're doing something that is strengthening your body alongside running, I think that's a fab start. So what I say when I coach people is, look, if you're doing yoga or Pilates, great, because that's going to make you more flexible. It's going to build your core strength and things like that. And it's going to make, it is going to strengthen up your joints to a certain level. Yeah. So that's a good start. If you're doing body weight exercise, because I run fitness groups, it's something I still do as another business of mine, as what I've done for the last sort of 15 years. We just use body weight only, and you can get strong by doing body weight only, and you certainly will build muscle because it's still resistance. It's just not using resistance with weights. Yeah. Now, from a conversation I had with my physio and a conversation I've had with a few people, the apex, so the top of the shop for runners, should be to exercise with weights and do some resistance sessions, okay, per week. Now, if that's one resistance session, so what I do when I coach people is I say, right, I call it minimum effective dose, which I got from a book called The 4 Hour Body, which is I say, right, what's the minimum you have to do to get the maximum possible result? Yeah. So in strength training terms, that would be, right, if you can go to the gym once a week, or you've got weights at home, kettlebells or bands or whatever, here's what I would recommend you do. Yeah. So I think the apex is weights, and what you want to do when you train with weights or you do any resistance workout that isn't running is you want to move away from what's called fluff in the industry. And fluff are exercises that look good but don't really do anything. Yeah. So most people will do like some fancy thing, but they won't go and do a squat, or a front squat or a back squat or a split squat or a lunge. These are the exercises that matter, the basics. You don't need to do anything flashy, anything technical. You don't need any of that. Literally, if you had some resistance and you were doing a squat motion or a lunge motion, that's going to give you strength where it matters, which particularly for runners is hips and knees, right? And if you've got strong quads front, and more importantly, I would say for a lot of us, more strong hamstrings, the back, that's going to make you the more complete runner. And you don't need to be overly technical with this. You got to bear in mind, as a human, you've got a front and you've got a back, right? So you probably might have heard the expression posterior chain, which is the back, which is where a lot of your speed comes from. So if you're looking to be a faster runner, if you read certain books, particularly Scott Dureck's book Eat and Run, he talks about having a stronger back because of the way you stride when you run. So, like, for example, a deadlift is a fantastic exercise because it works pretty much every muscle in your body, particularly focusing on the posterior chain, going through lower back to glutes to hamstrings. Now, if you're strengthening your hamstrings and your glutes, they are key muscles when it comes to running. Yeah, quads also to a certain degree, but actually probably the back, which is not the place that a lot of people train. When people go to the gym, they train the mirror muscles, like they train their arms or their triceps, which are great, it's fine, but for running terms, fairly pointless. So you're better off doing compound movements, big movements that make the difference, because you don't want to be in the gym for hours alongside running. When I'm marathon training, it's a struggle for me to get into the gym twice, and I'll do an upper body workout and a lower body workout. And the lower body workout is hamstrings first, because obviously I had my little hamstring problem last year, so I've been building strength in my hamstrings. So they're not fun exercises or cool exercises. Doing one leg Romanian deadlifts with a kettlebell is not a funky cool exercise, but it's very practical. Yeah. So it's all about practicality. So the apex is training with weights. If you can't do that, if you've got weights at home or kettlebells or whatever, if you can't do that, body weight exercise. If you can't do that and you're doing yoga and Pilates, brilliant. If you're doing something, I think first and foremost for most runners, do something alongside your running first, and then go through that degrees of separation of, right, okay, what's really, really good, what's not so, what's not so good, what's really, really good. Yeah. So, and then go through the process of that. So the apex is weights in the gym, but what I'm not saying is, because I know people love definite, it's this definitely, it's that definitely, is you must train in the gym with weights. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if you want to get better as a runner, cross training I think is essential. Okay, so you've got that right. So you've got number one, you've got the most effective going through the process, but something will always be better than nothing. So if you're going to do strength training and you can get into the gym once, then you need to do the basic exercises really well. And here's the way to look at it, right? So you've got a push exercise, a pull exercise, and some kind of squat or leg movement, yeah? So if you're ticking those three boxes, that's going to be a complete strength training session. And what I mean by that is a push would be something like a bench press or a shoulder press. A pull would be something like a seated row or what's called a lat pull down, which is where you pull the bar down towards your body. And then a squat movement, which could be a squat, could be a leg press, and so on and so forth like that. You're better off doing bigger movements that are going to work more muscles, because we don't want you in the gym forever. Yeah, I'm not that sort of person who says you must do like, the leg curl, lying prone curl, which is lying on your front, leg curl, which is the one when you're sat in the thing. Then do this most of you probably haven't got time for that. So what you need to do is do the basics brilliantly and do it consistently and do it well. So it would be a push movement, a pull movement, a squat movement. Now, if you can get in the gym twice, great. You can then split upper body, lower body. Deadlifts are great, going to work a lot of muscles. Most runners, if they just went to the gym once a week and did a load of deadlifts, that's going to tick a lot of boxes. It's working a lot of muscles. So yes, of course, we could sit here and give you a full prescription of stuff to do and write out loads of workouts for you, but we've also got to look at what you're going to do. I don't do that, so I say, right, I do an upper body workout, which is big push movements, big pull movements, and then do a lower body workout, which is hamstring rehab, and then big exercises like front squats, deadlifts, and then split squats for me, because I had a bit of a hip thing a few years ago, and split squats are really good for that with the weight. And actually, that's another one that's probably a go-to. It's called a Bulgarian split squat. Again, Google is your friend here, YouTube's your friend. Go and find these out. So first and foremost, because this is, as you can tell, is a subject that I can talk on for a while, strength training is important, resistance training is important. If you're doing resistance training, first tick in the box, and yoga and Pilates do count as resistance training, big tick in the box. The apex is doing it with weights, which can be in a gym or not. But if you are doing some kind of resistance training alongside your running, you are in a better position. If you want to get faster, or you want to sort out particular things, that's a different conversation. There's perhaps specific things we can do here. But if you go into the gym, just make sure you're covering all bases, you're doing the basics brilliantly, the big movements, and you're not getting too caught up with fluff and stuff that looks good. Get into the gym, get your work done, get out. Yeah. You know, I go to the gym to train and get what I need to get done, because I haven't got the time to be messing around. So that's my 2 cents on strength training. That's an introduction to strength training. Of course, it can be quite a big area. So hopefully that's useful for you. If you've got any questions, of course, or you want anything, just pop over to Instagram, follow me over there, 12 Months to Marathon. And if you send me a message or comment on one of my posts with 12, I'll send you my 12 Months to Marathon coaching video. And the 12 Months to Marathon coaching video just gives a quick presentation on what we do here at 12 Months to Marathon and how I can help you in terms of your running journey. So again, just comment 12, number 12, or DM me the 12 over at 12 Months to Marathon on Instagram, and we can get you that information across. So a bit longer today. Thank you for your patience. I do appreciate that. And thank you for listening. Introduction to Strength Training. Please like and share this podcast. I do appreciate that. Subscribe to it as well. And if you want to give it a favourite, or however you do that, wherever you get your podcast from, I'd really appreciate it. Stay tuned as well, because potentially coming soon is my exclusive 12 Months to Marathon Plus channel, where you'll be able to get exclusive content just for you, usually some of the things that I only share in my coaching group for next to nothing each month. So stay tuned for that. So thank you very much for listening. As always, I do appreciate it. Don't forget to drop me a follow over at 12 Months to Marathon. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for your interaction and comments. It's a pleasure to see you all on your journeys this year. And if you need any help, please reach out. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you all soon.